How's it going? This is Resident College for YouTube. I'm gonna pretend like I never did this before. That's my buddy Gordon Dymowski.
And the difference between that and any other time is what, Jewel?
That's my buddy Alec Gallant. Now we were going to do the Great Train Robbery, but we're going to talk about the actual crime too. Now the movie does star Sean Connery. It stars the late Sean Connery, the late Donald Sutherland. Now, what I found interesting about the real life robbery is there were a lot more robbers, people who connect in the people who robbed the train. So, supposed to in the movie, I'm not saying there weren't a good deal of. It wasn't just Connery and Sutherland's character, but there were more people. There were more real life participants than fictional ones. So,
right. I mean, they imply that there's a gang in the movie. There's a couple of players, but it wasn't quite as widespread, I guess.
Yeah. Here, the Great Train Robbery was the robbery. That I'm gonna butcher this. 2.61 million pounds. Holy Jesus!
What year was it?
1963.
Right. That's the most recent Great Train Robbery.
Yeah, you're thinking. Yeah, it's hard because there are two Great Train Robberies in British history. There's the 1855 one that the movie dramatizes, and the 1963 one that Jules referring to, where the guy who led it ended up moving to South America and he sang with the Sex Pistols.
You said 18 what?
1855.
55. So let's talk about the movie, Jewel, because because history, it's there's Wikipedia. People can do that in their off time, and plus let's talk about the movie because the movie is fun.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about the movie. I will say that though this is based on a real story, they do a really great job of making Connery. And it's Connery, it's Sutherland. They're very entertaining characters. They're very charismatic. They're very gentlemanly. I don't mind the darkness in this movie where Connery's character kills somebody, because that generally does happen in a lot of thief movies that you see. So I'm sure you guys have seen enough robbery movies that have gangs or other people connected with them, that a gang member gets killed by another gang member, or somebody gets killed by somebody else because they sold out to the cops. I'm not just talking in gangster movies necessarily, but trying to think of movies, for example. It's a movie from the 90s I'm trying to think of. Point Break, with Patrick Swayze.
Right.
That's a movie where people kill each other. So, what did you guys think of first of all, the dark moment of Connery's character killing somebody and the gentlemanly thief?
You referring to when the escape artist kid gets killed?
Oh yeah.
And they have one of their cohorts actually do it, but Connery has obviously sort of ordered this to happen. It's one of the darkest moments in the entire movie. The movie itself tends to be kind of lighthearted in a lot of ways. It's an adventure film more than it is a dark crime film. But that's certainly one of the really dark moments in the film.
Yeah, and at this point in British history, you're starting to develop a real. In England, there's a real sense of a criminal class arising, because you have started the initial formulation of the police. I mean, there's a reason why Sherlock Holmes became very popular during this time, and so you're seeing huge. You're seeing this disparity between very rich and very squalid. This new kind of criminal class is arising, and so it was not uncommon for gangs to have darker, that murder in the movie, it makes dramatic sense, but in real life it would have been just another day at the office. So and Michael Crichton was not trying to make a historical documentary. It's even his novels there's probably more that's wrong with the novel, and I think trying to compare it to what actually happened, we do that now because like we've got these miniseries like Feud, and trying to compare what really happened to fiction is always it never quite fits, but it's just kind of you have to enjoy the ride. But
absolutely,
yeah,
and this ride is much more romantic than reality would be,
right,
in a lot of ways, and more humorous as well. It probably was a much more squalid affair in reality. So, yeah, but this is a good taste of that, at least this
right.
moment. So
I think too, Connery's character, never knowing he never lets anyone know his real name or where he learned anything. Very mysterious character, which makes the character all the more intriguing. What did you guys think?
Well, Connery is cut from, and this is going to be a deep cut, so bear with me, folks.
got it.
Connery's character is the archetype known as the gentleman thief, and there are traces of, at least from my perspective, there are traces. A lot of his character seems to be cut from the same cloth as a character called A.J. Raffles, who was written by E.W. Hornung. And in short form, Hornung was Arthur Conan Doyle's brother-in-law, and so he has that kind of roguish, kind of I don't care about people. Raffles' attitude is he steals from rich people because they're stupid and they deserve it.
Right.
The only difference is that with Raffles, his Watson is a man named Bunny, who is not as cool as Donald Sutherland. And basically, Bunny's was kind of like hung around with Raffles in prep school. But yeah, there is that kind of snide, very dark. You don't know who he is. You don't know, but that's part of the intrigue about a character like this is that you don't know. I mean, Connery knows when to play the lighter tones, the more comic tones, but there's still an underlying darkness to this character, and I think that's what makes this movie like a cut above your usual caper heist kind of film. And I love caper heist films.
Mm-hmm. This one, yeah, there's that the upper class cynicism about it too, and it's not only is it about the money, which he confesses at the trial. I wanted the money. But it's also about playing the game. It's also about the challenge of getting it done and getting away with it, which is another gentleman thief kind of trope. When he basically he spurs the Donald Sutherland character into getting it under 75 seconds when they're going to go into the office and try to make the wax imprints of those two last keys. And it's at that point it's a game. It's totally a game that he's egging him on, he's challenging him, almost questioning his manhood. It's like, oh, you're tired, huh? No, I'm not tired. That kind of thing. It's like, again, it's the prep school thing that you're talking about too. There's a competitiveness between the two of them. But yeah, it does. It adds an added layer to this kind of a caper film that spices it a little bit, I think. And of course, the addition of Leslie Ann Down also spices it because it gives them. Not only does it give the two men aid and comfort, it gives them conflict too, because she doesn't always want to go along with what you're doing. She feels like she's being lied to, and she is, and he freely admits, I'm lying to you all the time, which for her is kind of frustrating, provokes a little bit of rebellion.
Well, too, with Donald Sutherland's character too, he doesn't fully tell him everything. He just says, "Oh, I need you to mold keys for keys," but he doesn't tell him exactly what the heist is for until way late, until really Sullivan figures it out, and it's
right. He does.
He's like, oh my god,
right.
of a moving train.
But that's a status thing too, and that's probably status that's gone back many, many years in their friendship. Sean Connery's character is so much he's the superior character. He's the one. He's the leader. He decides, and Sutherland's character is like trying to figure it out all the time, and usually he does because he's not stupid. He's pretty intelligent himself. But.
Yeah, I like how they introduced the two different thieves and how they operate. I think that's what really helps this movie too. You guys, I was listening to you guys' video today about Jerry Goldsmith and the score. You're right. The score is much part of the movie, but I also think too, taking the time to not just show, Sean Connery's character and how he operates, but to show Donald Sutherland's character and how he operates and how the two sort of coexist. And plus Leslie Ann Down's character, she knows she's being lied to. She doesn't want to sleep with some guy who's overweight. Like, right. I don't want to sleep with that guy. And then they pull off it's almost like when you're watching this movie, it's like, hey, can we top this? And they do.
And they do. But they stay within their roles also. Yeah. I mean, if you notice, Connery's trying to find out about where the key is kept from this lady that he's like pretending to woo. And so he's in the high society of this guy who they find out he's got a weakness for betting on rat killings that dogs do. An interesting, I mean, it's like cockfighting, I guess. It's kind of a low-class form of cockfighting, but then what is Sutherland's character doing all this time? He's the cab driver. He's the getaway guy, or he's the guy that's, setting up things and showing up and delivering things or picking people up and doing that. So you definitely have a status thing going on, even though they're both sort of passing in upper society. One is definitely above the other in terms of the jobs that he's doing.
Yeah. Gordon, what did you think?
Well, I thought it was great. I mean, not only do you see the relationship of the characters, but every caper and heist movie, you could argue it's a very formulaic movie because there's it's the plan comes together, everyone has a role. And I think this film does a really good job of letting everyone have their moment in the sun. I mean, the other movie that I think also does this well, and it's a little bit longer, is The Great Escape. And Julie, you need to see that. It's got Steve McQueen on a motorcycle. It's got James Gardner. It's got Donald Pleasence. It has William Russell from Doctor Who in like a blink and you'll miss him cameo. But it's not only do you see how the plan progresses, you also see how you eventually see how all the pieces work together. And I think in this film, there's a really nice balance of, Sean Connery's the mastermind. That Pleasance is kind of the thief guy. Leslie Ann Down is the lure. And
she's the one who distracts or gets information. That's her job.
Yeah, and for those who want to join the Resident of Collinwood Book Club, which is a new thing that Jewel announced a couple of weeks ago that you didn't even realize, I'm going to recommend you find a book called The Big Con by David Maurer. And Maurer was a linguist in the 1930s who was looking at the language that con artists use. And what he kind of came to realize is that there's a certain structure to every con. There's the mastermind. There's the roper, who's the guy who finds the victims. There's the lure, who's the attractive person who gets them. There's the mechanic who figures out, okay, how do we actually work this out? And then there's the muscle, the guy who beats him up. So for this podcast, Patrick would be the mastermind. Alan, I think, would probably be the roper. I would be the mechanic. And
muscle right there.
Yeah, Jewel would be the muscle. He'd also be cannon fodder when we need him. He'd be the one we'd leave in a lurch.
Uh-oh.
We would just, the cops come, we
Yeah.
leave him holding the bag.
We eventually have to pull him out of jail, but yeah, he'd be bag holder for a little while. Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's just hilarious. Well, for one, yeah, I've seen The Great Escape. I actually own it on DVD.
It's a movie.
Fun fact. Charles Bronson worked in the mines in Pennsylvania, and that's where he got his fear. His fear was sort of real. It was real in the movie. So,
yeah, he was he came from a very impoverished background.
Yeah, he did. His family was poor.
Very hard scrabble stuff.
Yeah. But for this movie, no movie, whether it's heist or not, is complete without stakes. I'm not just talking the possibility of going to jail. Sure, there's that. But it's getting both sides of the coin in the movie, because Connery's character is, when he's suspicious of that he's been ratted out, or that he's been snitched on, to the Crushers in this movie. I love how you get the thieves, telling, because he's telling the Crushers, if I tell you, they'll kill him, like they'll kill me. Like, he doesn't want to snitch at first, really.
Right.
And then he does, and then the setup for that is really good. It's in a public place. Sutherland's like 3 Crushers. He's there in disguise, and he eventually. Oh my God! Sorry. Connery's character ends up killing the kid, which I don't mind, because you get that sort of double-sided coin of, hey, you always knew there were stakes in this thing. It wasn't. Yeah, sure, it's about the money. It's about the adventure of getting the money. But it's also about, hey, they don't want caught either. And if you're going to turn on them and give that possibility of any of them being caught, they're going to kill you.
Yeah, it's like a mafia code. You don't do that, or are you going to suffer the consequences? So.
Unlike Frank James, who snitched on his own brother. I mean, what? No.
What?
You are great. But I do think I love that in this movie most, that you get because it's not like it's this big long. They don't make everything so overtly long in this movie. It's going so fast, but it's not going so fast you can't pay attention to what's going on. Connery's character is living among the people, figuring out where the keys are, like you guys have pointed out. And you have Sutherland's character who says, okay, we got to get the key, we got to copy it, we got to put it in this mold. So he's doing that end of it. And I really do love the rehearsal of the timing sequence.
Yeah, it's
the Sutherland's running up and down. That is so really cool. What did you guys think?
That's part of the engineer type thing. So Connery and Sutherland were sort of sharing the duties of being the engineer of the job. So you're seeing that actually being played out, in action form. You see how they're planning to do it. So that is very cool.
Yeah, and you actually create tension, because once you have them rehearse like what it's going to be, and you get them, okay, we know we can do this in 74 seconds. You throw in the complication when they actually do it. Sutherland's character can't find the keys.
Right. Because they're not hanging on the hooks. There's a million of them hanging on the hooks, and that's not one of them. Mm-hmm. So he has to go through that and waste about 25 seconds doing that. So yeah, excellent tension builder.
Well, how this film starts too, you get Connor with the narration, but then you get a failed robbery attempt on the very train that they're going to try to steal the gold from. I think that was really, really cool to see somebody fail at it, because it lets you know the danger there about that he's going to attempt. I mean, really, it's thief lifestyles, high risk, your reward is not, and if you fail, the consequences really
Yeah,
suck.
and it also lets the audience know that this train carries bullion on the regular, because these people are attempting to rob it, and it's probably been attempted more than once. So, yeah.
What did you guys think of the opening of this movie?
Well, I think it really sets the initial stakes for the movie, because you want to see, okay, every heist movie has it defines the problem. If you're watching, say, Ocean's 11, it's about Danny Ocean and his friends deciding, hey, we don't like this casino guy. We're gonna break into his vault and steal his money, and you learn why that's not always easy. If you look at, say, Leverage, a show like Leverage, which is available for free on Amazon with ads, they're hired by people to go after the rich and powerful, and it's hey, I lost my house, or hey, look, I was fired because I developed this super potato. And yes, there's an episode of Leverage about a super potato.
Like a GMO potato or something?
Yes, a GMO potato.
Okay.
And so there's always you define the problem, and you show that, okay, this is what the leads have to overcome. And that intro, one, it kicks off the movie to a great start, but it also identifies that, yeah, this is going to be the problem. You've got a moving train, you've got gold, you've got 4 different keys, you've got all these logistics. How are our leads going to solve this problem?
Yeah. I think too, like with this movie, how they execute copying each key that they use, getting the woman to get close to the man. The last 2 keys are in one place, and having to Connery to go to the train station, and just the fact that they have to time this guard and how long he takes to go,
and how consistent he is when he leaves, and he leave a single time, so he has to be there like 3 or 4 nights in a row.
Oh yeah.
Sure. So yeah, that's part of the engineering aspect.
Yeah, it's really, really fun to watch. One of my favorite scenes in this movie, I really love how they did the graveyard scene. I love that, looked creepy as fuck.
Yeah, good atmosphere.
Yeah, you're not expecting a graveyard scene. If you watch this movie for the first time, it's not like, oh, there's going to be a graveyard scene in this movie. No, but there is. And that's the guy who is going to eventually turn on them and get killed for his troubles.
Yeah, and that's one thing that this movie has in common with Return of the Living Dead, is that they both have graveyard scenes.
It's true.
Yes, absolutely.
And Joel, speaking of Return of the Living Dead, yes. The graveyard scene where the one woman is dancing, what's the name of the SSQ song that she's dancing to?
Oh God.
That one's for Patrick.
You know the name of that song.
I got to tell you, it's really obvious what Linnea Quigley was famous for in that movie, playing trash. I mean, the woman is a hard body, and was and still is, from what I can tell. I mean, she's in her early 70s now. I think she still does conventions and stuff. She looks pretty trim. She looks like she kept herself in pretty good shape. But that's what she was known for, scream queen who would take her clothes off at the drop of a hat, in several of the movies that she did.
Yeah, she did an interview on TNT's Monster Vision with Joe Ballberg. She talked about that in my.
She has a sense of humor about it too, in her characterization. She's not like trying to be sexed up or anything like that. She just, like, with the character of Trash, she's just kind of crazy, and it's funny.
Yeah. So the female character,
Leslie Ann Down. She was
Leslie Ann Down.
Yeah.
I don't quite think she's a femme fatale. What do you guys think?
I think she's more of a lure.
Yeah.
She is a femme fatale is a woman who's usually has ulterior motives of her own.
Yeah.
and she's not someone you can trust. I mean, she does a great job, but I think her role and usually that's what the role that women would play in these kind of in early kind of jobs is they just be the pretty face who could, maybe they were a pickpocket or a thief, but their job was they could get in, they could distract someone. Well, so, and I think Leslie Ann Down plays it with a really, it would be easy to play this as a one note kind of, hey, I'm pretty, I know it, I don't like to do it all the time.
Right.
I think she gives some really interesting notes, especially when she's talking about, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this guy.
Yeah, it's like she has professional standards. It's like she almost has,
Mhm.
she has an ethics of her own, even though it might not be the same ethics as you or I would have. She has an ethics of her own. She gives side eye to some of this stuff,
Yeah, she does.
She's very worldly, but at the same time, she's not amoral, not totally.
Mhm.
It is interesting. She does have her own standards, even though they, like I said, it might be criminal standards in some ways. They're still, she does have boundaries.
Well, here's a question for you guys, because the character she's playing is an actress. Do you think, as an because Alan, you've acted, do you think if somebody, hypothetically, if somebody said to you, hey, we'd like you to do this to be part of our thief clan, it's like a challenge, right? It's something.
Well, yeah, I think it was a challenge, and also the money is incredibly good if you can successfully pull it off. And actors didn't always get paid a lot of money, but also historically, you're talking mid 1800s. People were still considering, particularly women actresses who were unmarried, they could be very much suspect in terms of being prostitutes. There was still a prejudice that way, even in the 19th century. Most of the famous actresses of that period were married and would go by their husband's name, Mrs. So-and-so. That was pretty much the standard. That gave legitimacy to the woman on stage because she was married and therefore ostensibly, scandal proof, supposedly. So there's that, and she's not married. She's a kind of a free agent. So, and Connery's character is, he's right on the edge of misogyny the way he treats her at times. And so, hey, you're an actress, be a whore, go for it, that kind of thing. There was an attitude like that, especially among the male population.
Jordan, what did you think?
I'm kind of with Alan. I think that even though I think the character might have saw it as a challenge, but I think the character was also probably thinking like, hey, look, this is the only way I'm going to get respect in this world. And so
make my own money, so to speak, and yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you a good DS9 episode with a femme fatale, A Simple Investigation. It's really, really good if you haven't seen it. Really good. But this movie is just a lot of fun to watch. From the way they do this, to the way they shoot it, the characters, the way it's written. So here's a question for you guys, because I didn't read the Wikipedia for the world. How close do they come to sort of the real life robbery in this movie?
I think I can answer that very confidently with nobody cares.
Right. It's not an issue. As a matter of fact, the real robbery would probably be somewhat mundane and squalid in comparison to what they do in this movie as an entertainment. So you take the best aspects of this, the excitement of it, like they would write it in a dime store novel of the time, with a lot of embellishment and excitement, and that's what you do in the movie.
Yeah. I think because I didn't see this movie till after I got into true crime, and the first thing I learned about was D.B. Cooper. That to me was like, this motherfucker's daring as fuck to do this.
Oh, I mean, that's another real life caper, but it's a modern caper. Yeah.
Right. And this here was, as a movie, was really, really interesting. it was just fun to watch and entertaining. I love the characters. I really love most Donald Sutherland's little gang of thieves.
And as a side note, Leverage, there's actually an episode, Jewel, that's about DB Cooper.
I believe it. I believe it. I mean, why not? Why not? Oh my god. Oh my god. Well, here's my philosophy on that, and I do mean this. To me, everything's just like profits. It's just like everything's got to be about earning $1 off the crime that happened. Like that. Okay, for example, DB Cooper, whether it's making a movie about this or that, it's all about let's get money out of it.
Right, that's the ultimate goal is to have the money, but it's also about the thrill. It's about the thrill of accomplishing it, getting away with it, and I think that's the case with DB Cooper too. I mean, the guy jumped out of a damned airplane, I mean, to get away with it, and we still don't know if he got away with it or not, whether he died in the fall or whether he got away with it. Nobody really knows absolutely for sure. I don't think at this point anyway. I haven't heard anything different at this point. And it's been what, 40 something years?
Yeah.
No, it's been a long time. So
that's the thing. I was talking to a friend of mine who does true crime, and I said, well, here's the thing. I said, he's not the only dude who attempted an airline hijacking in the 70s. They were like throughout the 70s, it felt like.
Right. But his purpose was money.
Money, not killing. Right.
Cuba or one of the other, kind of hijackings that were taking place during those times.
Yeah, his hijacking wasn't about committing murder. Like it wasn't like this
not a political statement or
a religious statement. No.
Yeah.
No, God, no.
Getting away with the money.
I remember we had to write down in fifth grade. I had to write down the differences of the different airline hijackings.
Oh my God! There were a ton of them that went on when I was a kid. When I was, I don't know, 12 or 13, they started like a rash of them. And they were refugees, some of them, or political people. They wanted, take me to Cuba, take me to Buenos Aires. They were trying to get them to fly them out of the country or whatnot because maybe they were fugitives and they were trying to get back where they couldn't be extradited or something else, or they were trying to make a political statement. But in a few cases, it was about what it was about for DB Cooper, which was the money, the thrill of it, and the money.
Yeah, and that's I think the key to enjoying a caper or heist film. It's rarely about matching history or plot. It's about the thrill of it, and the ultimate goal is let's get the money.
Right. Exactly. Jewel, before I forget, you mentioned the '63 heist, which was a Royal Mail heist.
Yeah.
There is a movie that came out in 1988 called Buster, which stars Phil Collins as Buster Edwards, one of the people that was involved in the heist and actually spent, I don't know, 10 or 15 years in prison, then got out, lived another 20 years as a free man. Interesting movie. If you want to check that out.
I've seen it. It's on TV.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
I was like, why is Phil Collins in a movie?
Yeah, well, I mean, they tried. It's not bad. I mean, it's an movie, but I mean, he just wasn't movie star material. But he was actually, Jewel, I will say this, he was a child actor. He was one of the first Artful Dodgers in Oliver, the musical, when it premiered in London before it came to Broadway. And when it came to Broadway by that time, Davy Jones was the Artful Dodger. So that show launched careers. Before Phil Collins decided to pick up drumsticks, he was an actor. So
Phil Collins was actually in one of the crowd scenes in A Hard Day's Night, Joel, with the Beatles. So don't go busting on Phil Collins, and his music is actually a lot better than you would expect. I grew up on his music, Joel, and I will not have you badmouth Phil Collins.
His
I mean,
music's
I mean,
overrated.
you badmouth Phil Collins, you badmouth Patrick.
You know,
Stop.
Phil Collins is just like the Beatles, overrated. Anyway,
Oh.
okay,
Okay.
okay. Continue with the Great Train Robbery. What's you guys' favorite scene in this movie?
I actually thought the scene where the coffin, where he's inside the coffin and he's pounding on it and stuff like that was hilarious. I really enjoyed that. And they opened it up and he's in there pretending he's dead again, so that when they close it back again, they don't screw it all in as tight. And then he finally gets released after pounding on it some more. I thought that was hilarious. I just thought that was his character in a nutshell. He had to put up with stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like towards the end when Connery gets back, just before he returns to turns to the train, where he realizes he's covered in soot and he didn't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he leaves, that the jacket's torn, and that's how he gets caught.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how they
try
shoot
to
that.
take Sutherland's clothes too at one point because he's all filthy or whatever after he comes down off the top of the train.
Yeah,
like,
Sutherland. Yeah, give me your clothes.
Yeah.
Come on, I had to lay in a coffin, and now
Yeah,
you want my
exactly.
clothes.
Adding insult to injury, basically. I mean, as if you didn't know that the character was putting up with a lot as it was.
Sutherland's promo is just fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and I do like how they shoot the ending scene where the tears down the jacket. You tell there's a tear in the jacket and stuff, because Connery doesn't come out because of him getting dressed and make sure he doesn't have any like dirt on his face. He's waiting to come out the train, and you see them waiting, like Sutherland and the girl waiting for him there to come out, and then he gets busted.
Yeah.
And then there's the trial. There's a bunch of scenes in here that are just so good.
Trial was fun too. His response to the judge in the trial was pretty fun.
Oh yeah. I did it for the money. I wanted the money.
Yeah.
I wanted the money. I wanted the money.
And of course, because it's a reasonably lighthearted caper film, he has to get broken out at the end, which
Oh yeah, he has to. He has to. It's Connery. What do you do?
Mm-hmm. This was during the period of time in which Sean Connery was making was making his bones with non-007 movies too, in the 70s. He did Robin and Marion around this time. He did a science fiction movie where he was dressed in this ridiculous thing. I think Sardo. Yeah. That was, I mean, unbelievable. They had him in a fake ponytail and the whole 9 yards. But he was making a lot of films at this point in time because he Never Say Never Again wasn't in the works yet. It hadn't pipelined yet. That didn't happen until the early 80s for his last Bond film. So he was establishing himself as an actor who was not a James Bond character.
Don't forget about his final James Bond performance in The Rock. Okay.
Well, it is kind of that. Yeah, it is. He's kind of playing a similar character. Absolutely. Which is an excellent film, by the way. I think that's an excellent action film.
Favorite non-James Bond Sean Connery movie?
Sorry, I had myself muted. Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
His first. That was his first major role.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a cool little movie. I enjoy him in The Untouchables.
Yeah. Outland for me. Just
good movie.
Fun.
Excellent science fiction movie.
Yeah, really good. It has an alien connection to it, so which is just a lot of fun. So, try to think if there's anything I want to ask you guys. Don't think there is. Is there anything you guys want to add about the movie?
No, it's a great
No.
period piece. I love the costumes, the sets, the hair, everything. It all contributes to the character of the entire movie, and the performances are just right for what the movie's supposed to be, I think.
Yeah, this is a solid 10. I mean, it's just a fun watch from start to finish. You will not be bored in this movie when watching it. I wasn't when I first watched it. I wasn't bored with the Phil Collins movie either. By the
No,
way.
Buster's a pretty good little movie.
Yeah.
It's not War and Peace, but it's it's a pretty good little movie. And Julie Walters really good in it too. So
I think any movie that you can have literally somebody robbing a train in is just like, holy shit.
Oh.
The fact that you're watching people rob a train in this movie is like, these people are nuts.
and even if it's not exactly historically accurate, it's still it really happened on some
right.
level.
Really happened. So based on a real life crime. Yeah. So for anybody who's curious, I will leave a link in the wiki to the 1855 crime. If you want to go read it, you can. I'll also leave a link, obviously, to Gordon Dymowski's Amazon page and Alan Gallant's YouTube channel, Calling Sports After Dark.
Yes,
so, guys, first of all, sorry we couldn't get Patrick on here.
He's probably in the midst. That's probably what's going on.
Well, here's the thing. Like, even though we did this, I'm up for talking this again because this is just a fun movie to talk about, and I do want to get Patrick's perspective on this. So.
Absolutely.
So, guys, thank you so much, and have a good night.
You too.
Peace out.
See you later.
Bye.
Have a good evening.